Imagine this. You spent a questionable amount of time making some awesome sounds for your next track. But instead of sounding like the main stage, it sounds like...
They ask you how you are and you just have to say that you're fine.
So why? What are some of the techniques that can help you get more from your sound design? Now, over time, I learned that the processing chain following your sounds has arguably just as large of an impact on the final result as the sound itself, and putting the right things on your sound can really help push it to the next level. So there's a few fundamental steps that I take whenever I'm making a sound like the one you just heard. Everything, of course, begins with the source of our sound, in this case a serum. So I made this wavetable, then modified it using the oscillator warp remap function, and one cool thing about Serum is that you can actually render the warp function onto the current wavetable, creating a brand new wavetable. One of the most important things that I do here is change the general character of the sound, which can be things like the timbre or any initial movement that I might want the sound to have. So now you can either create a sample or have it play live from the source. I typically render everything into samples because of the CPU savings you get from not having literally 5 serums playing at once. So to create this sample, all I did was play one note while editing some of the parameters within Serum, and this can lead to creating a lot of interesting sounds in a short amount of time. And you can capture all of the output audio using an Edison or any other means of recording. Once my sample is created, I can start adding specific effects to help bring out certain characters of the sound. I added each of these effects with a specific goal in mind, but I typically have absolutely no idea what the end result will be. So at this point, I knew I wanted to add more harmonic content to the sound and also push the sound just a bit further to add additional character. So to accomplish this, I used a combination of these effects on the mixer channel. Some of the most noteworthy things going on are the saturation, EQing, stereo imaging, and then making sure that the sound works with whatever plays right before and after it. Starting with saturation, I used the Pro C to help fill out the sound a bit and also make some frequencies sound more pronounced. And I think when this is done right, a little bit of saturation can help your basses go a whole lot farther. So next is where things get a bit more interesting. So I have the signal routing into this patcher, which then allows me to do some pretty cool routing with all of these effects. And all this is really doing is adding extra tonality via a resonator and then applying it to a specific set of frequencies within the sound. An important note is that I did bypass any sub-frequencies that were in the signal in order to avoid messing with our very low end. From there, the signal routes into this other patcher that's putting a tiny amount of convolution reverb on those same set of frequencies. Now, the rest of the effects that I used are mostly there just to help put the sound in context and less about changing the sound itself. But one notable thing that I did do is shape the amount of stereo present in the sound using this EQ. You can also automate the side information in some pretty interesting ways to get a more dynamic sounding effect. So this entire process would normally happen in a sort of cycle where I'm going back and changing the parameters in previous steps to help get a better result out at the end. So I guess the moral of this story is to trust the process.